With that, let's bring in House Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker Johnson, pleasure to have you this morning.
Kayleigh, congratulations on the new show. It's my great honor to be one of your first guests. And what I'm so excited about for you is that you bring both knowledge and experience and trust to the viewers, and that's why your success has been so great. I'm so excited for you, my friend.
Speaker Johnson, it was an honor to have you. I said, you got to get Speaker Johnson. I was so honored when you would do it. Let's start with the votes yesterday, 2 big votes, and one of those votes was the House. You passed a clean resolution. This is something that Republicans and Democrats have done throughout all of time. It goes to the Senate, and it fails 44-48, just one Democrat voting in favor of that CR. So are we heading toward a government shutdown?
I hope not. I talked to the president about this last night at length, and he and I cannot believe that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats would be willing to close the government down. Now, think of what they're demanding, Kayleigh, to keep the government open. We've been working to push Congress back to the way the appropriations process is supposed to work. You know, as well as I do, it's supposed to be 12 separate appropriations bills that are carefully deliberated and debated and decided upon in a bipartisan fashion to fund the government. We did that in the House. We got all 12 bills through the committee, the Appropriations Committee, to their credit. 3 of them passed off the floor. The Senate passed 3 bills. Those bills don't align exactly, so we're going to a conference committee to work out those differences. All of that is exactly the way it's supposed to work. The problem is we're running out of time because the end of the fiscal year is September 30th. So what we did as Republicans is the responsible thing to keep the government open and to allow this process to continue. We put a very simple, very clean, continuing resolution to open the government, keep it open until mid-November so that our appropriators can do the job. Now, what did Chuck Schumer and the Democrats do in exchange? Democrats sent us a counteroffer. Guess what they wanted to do instead of that, Kayleigh? They wanted to reinstate giving free health care to illegal aliens. They wanted us to add $500 million to prop up liberal news organizations. They wanted to add $1.4 trillion in new spending on a stopgap funding measure, and we're just not going to do that. We can't do that. And it looks like they're going to try to shut the government down. The Democrat shutdown will be a disaster for the country.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens in the coming days. I also want to get to the second vote that took place yesterday, and that was a resolution honoring Charlie Kirk. And I want to highlight exactly what that resolution did. You see the vote count there. You see 58 Democrats voted against it. 38 voted present. There were some that voted in favor. And here's what the resolution did. 1, condemn in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charlie Kirk. 2, commend and honor law enforcement. 3, extend deep condolences to Charlie Kirk's family. 4, honor the life, leadership, legacy of Charlie Kirk. 5, call upon all Americans to reject political violence. House Speaker Mike Johnson, why could half of Democrats not get on board with those 5 items?
They refused to support it, and it's frankly very stunning to me. I drafted that, Kayleigh, on behalf of all the Congress, and we could have put a lot of partisan language in it, and we could have talked more about Charlie's worldview and all of that. We didn't, because we wanted to keep it as simple as you just summarized there. And still, half of Democrats could not go along with that. They refused to vote yes. I think it's stunning. And you saw some of the clips. Some of them went on the floor. They couldn't help themselves. AOC and Tlaib and the others who said terrible things about Charlie Kirk and who he was. They didn't know Charlie. You and I did. Charlie was a good man. He believed in virtue and goodness and things that are noble and praiseworthy. Faith, family, freedom. He talked about scripture. He talked openly about being a Christ follower and why it was good to believe in American exceptionalism and patriotism. How they could have such hate for a message like that is beyond me, but I think it says a lot more about them than it does Charlie Kirk.
Absolutely. It's astounding to me that, the vote to condemn the Minnesota lawmaker killings, and those were Democrats, was 424-0. Everyone got on board with condemning that violence. But instead, you mentioned AOC. I want to play exactly what she said on the House floor. Listen to this.
The majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today. We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans.
I mean, how prevalent is that kind of hatred among the Democratic caucus?
it's more prevalent than we thought, and it's total misinformation, of course. I think I've spoken at 3 or 4 vigils since Charlie's tragic passing, and I keep trying to emphasize to all the young people who are so deeply affected by this, and all of us are, Kaylee, that the best way to honor the memory, the legacy of Charlie Kirk is to advance his principles and adopt his approach. What I mean by that is all those good principles that we talked about a few moments ago, those are the things that are good. That's what uplifts people, and advances American principles. And that's what we ought to be doing. But even more than that, adopt Charlie's approach. Because he wasn't hateful. He didn't speak like these folks are. He did the opposite. He was motivated by love for his fellow man. And even though he would defeat someone in a debate or have a disagreement, he was the very first person to reach out a hand of friendship, offer to put his arm around the shoulder of someone, because he was trying to reach people and bring them in. That's what we ought to be doing. That's what we ought to remember about Charlie. I'll be flying with the president to the memorial service tomorrow out in Phoenix, and I think they're saying there'll be tens of thousands of people there. I expect that's right, and millions more, of course, watching online. We mourn the loss of this singular figure in our culture, and it's going to be difficult to replace him. I don't think he ever will be.
No, I don't think so either. And you talk about those principles that animated Charlie Kirk's life. One of those principles was faith, and it's animated your life. I want to take our viewers back to when I had the privilege of interviewing you just after you became House Speaker. You showed me a pretty special place in Congress. Let's roll the tape.
A small room, but I think a sacred place, and we've already used it quite a bit, and we'll be using it every morning.
So every morning?
Yes.
Okay, so my team back in the White House, the last thing we did before we went to the podium was have a prayer.
Yeah.
So literally end in prayer and then go speak to the press. So each morning, will you have a ritual? This
will be my discipline to come in here and seek the Lord's guidance for what we do each day.
So you said you'd pray in that chapel, and I saw your face on the cover of Time magazine in the airport. I picked it up, and I want to share with our viewers what that says about the big, beautiful bill and how that vote transpired. Johnson got Trump on the phone. The trio struck a compromise. The source says Massey would vote for the rules package. Trump would stop the ads. With Massey on board, the procedural motion passed on the House floor an hour later, setting the stage for the bill to pass. This is the part. Johnson had prayed for such a breakthrough hours earlier in the Capitol Chapel with his wife. How instrumental has your faith been in all these breakthroughs you've had, these nail-biter votes that you seem to pull off?
Well, more than instrumental, it's been essential. And they've said that we're doing magic tricks here. It's not that. It's just a lot of prayer and patience, and that's what's required in these days. But, Kaylee, the important thing to point out is this is not some new or unusual thing. This is exactly what the framers of our great Constitution, the founders of our country, they did the same thing. In times of great crisis and challenge, they would go to their knees and they would seek divine guidance. And we do well to remember that. It's part of the DNA of who we are as Americans, and it follows the best of our traditions. So I know that people raise their eyebrows sometimes at, wow, the speaker says he's going to go pray. I'm doing exactly what the thing is that made our country the great nation that it is, and we do well to stand by that.
Yeah, I remember a lot of chaos on the Hill after you first took the gavel, and you just had this serenity, and you said something to the effect of God's got this, and he certainly has. Thank you very much, House Speaker Mike Johnson. An honor to have you on the very first show.
It's my great honor. Thanks so much. Congratulations.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.